but being able to leverage your supply chain, and by making services procurement a well-managed part of your organization, it builds those supplier relationships where you can be engaging with your supply chain to say, well, do you know what? We've got this sort of thing coming down the road. Who can do this? Which suppliers have got these particular capabilities that we're not aware of? And actually look at the gaps where you need to build that supply chain, bring in new types of suppliers, and enable that kind of innovation. I think it's so critical because it comes back to that whole thing of what's the most effective way for us to do the work that we need to do now and in the future. So it's if people have a complete mess in services procurement, which I see all the time, it's just a black hole. It's on spreadsheets, it's on Word documents, it's on emails, it's on Teams, it's on phone calls. The supply chain's not shared effectively. There's no rigor around contracts and compliance. There's no ability for organizations to see which suppliers are doing which projects really in any detail and whether they're even doing a good job of it. So it kind of, I think for an organization to be able to get to the point where they can genuinely look at the total optimization of their workforce, their organizational capacity and capability, if they haven't got services procurement nailed, they can't even really get started on it. And that's partly, I think, where in previous times the total workforce management conversation has maybe fallen short a little bit.
That's right. Because the non-employee contract labor segment of it, such a big part of that is services procurement. And that's the black hole of all the disconnected processes and pieces of information and people in teams managing things in many, many, many different ways. And there's not the right, the corporation itself, the enterprise does not have the right infrastructure to at least initially apply enough command and control over that space to stabilize it and then rebuild it. And let's just be clear, okay? And some of your listeners may not certainly agree with this. We are in a time where there is so much uncertainty and volatility, and good companies have tried to lean into empowering their employee bases, but the mere mortal employees need some direction. They need some direction. So in order for an enterprise to look at their services procurement cloud and say it's a mess, someone somewhere has to take ownership and control of it, even for a short period of time, and say, we are going to assess all of the assets in this cloud. We are going to discern what parts of it we're going to keep, what parts of it we're going to change and transform, and what parts we're going to throw away. And we are going to make that decision quickly. And then we are going to be about the business of rebuilding for now and the future, because we don't need to keep all of the assets that are in that cloud. The last time we looked, well, we've never looked at them holistically. And we are going to find a lot of it is out of date. A lot of it is broken. And I mean contracts, data we're capturing, tools we're using, processes we're using, all of that is part of the assets, right? It needs to be assessed. It needs to be quickly cleaned. It needs to have some governance and ownership and structure for a time period until a new system is put in place where it can start to thrive. But we need a little bit of command and control in some places. And I think some organizations are just hesitating to take that step for whatever reason. If it goes against culture, stakeholder sentiment, maybe the board is not on your side. I don't know what it is, but the longer it takes for you to make a decision, the more you're losing money and marketplace share, and the less viable you're becoming. Okay, I said it. I'm sorry.
I totally agree with you. I just think that companies that do take that attitude, they're going to be in for a shock, and maybe by the time they realize it, it's going to be too late, and they're just going to get outstripped by their competitors. With this stuff, it is complicated. It is hard work, but it's not trying to fly to Mars. It's a solvable problem. It requires organization, and it requires courage and leadership, and the action, positive, immediate, and effective action to to actually to make things happen. But I think the point you made there is one of the biggest problems, as I see it, is the lack of ownership.